Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Alan Lee is finally back with us. Alan, say hello to the folks.
Hey, what's up, folks? Glad to be here as always.
Ah, I'm fuck. My light is off. Excellent. All right. Ah, Alan, how you doing, buddy? I like your background on the Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you. That's actually a copy of a Van Gogh that I did only because I was forced to.
Wait, you
Uh,
actually painted that?
yes, sir.
Oh my God.
Hold on. If I should move my head. Can you
Yeah.
see it? Yeah. But it's a copy that we did.
It looks
Uh,
like a Van Gogh.
it is a Van Gogh, and it was on YouTube, and I can't believe it came out that well. I'm in shock.
Yeah.
I'm in shock.
Looks good. Well, it's good to have you back on the show. The trusty sidekick, the one and only Alan Lee,
As I said, always glad to be here. I'm looking forward to our guest,
our guest tonight. You've seen
Suzanne.
her on David Letterman. She was on the show We Have to Stop Now, and she's been on Comics Unleashed, Evening at the Improv. The great Suzanne Westenhoefer will be here via Zoom.
That's right. And she's accomplished a lot and very interesting. Very interesting. Um, you know, she's from Pennsylvania, you know, and she comes from a family of three sisters and very interesting lady and very funny lady too. I've seen, and I like it. She's very funny.
And it's going to be fun. As always, if you like the show, subscribe, rate, review, and tell a friend. Enjoy Reza Rifts with Suzanne Westenhoefer coming up next.
You're listening to Reza Rifts with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio. Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
Hi, honey.
How
Hi,
are you?
Suzanne.
Suzanne, this is Alan Lee, the trusty sidekick.
Are you saying Alan?
Yes, with one L. Hi.
Hi, Alan. I'm sorry. Oh, and of course,
No problem.
I have something in my throat now.
Oh my God. You okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
What is that?
It's with me, it's postnasal drip. I hate it.
Where?
And I use a neti pot constantly these days. I'm pouring that salt through my nostrils.
Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm in my car because I just got off work, and I assume that Keith's in his house.
Yeah.
I mean, what area of the country?
Oh,
Oh,
Los Angeles.
my bad. For heaven's sakes, I thought you were here in West Hollywood.
I am.
Oh no, we're right down. I mean, we're Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't. Yeah. It occurred to me. I did not know.
Oh,
the city of angels.
She knows that.
Suzanne, have you've been in Los Angeles for a while? Do you really think it's the city of angels?
Sure, it is.
Yes.
Sure.
But that is also because I grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and farms, factories, poverty, cold, snow.
Cold.
Yeah. Were you so in Pennsylvania they have a lot of Amish people doing rum springas there, right?
Yes, I grew up in Amish country.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I had Amish friends.
Nice. Very interesting.
I will tell you, the funniest part of that is when my mom was a single mom. My dad kicked us off the farm because so it was my two older sisters, my mom and myself. We were pretty poor. My mom worked as we used to call them secretaries. And because the doctor that she worked for grew up in that area, when Amish, because it's old order Amish, when they would have a problem, he was an eye surgeon, they would come to him because they don't usually use our hospitals or doctors or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So my mom, over the course of time, made friends with this one family. And I clearly remember I was like 7 or 8 years old. She took us to the farm. They invited us over to the farm. And I'm like 7 years old. And the best part is put a bunch of 7-year-old kids together. You think, they're 7-year-old kids. They'll be fine. But here's my sisters and I are going, let's play Batman and Robin. And they're like, what? You know what I mean? Okay, let's, like, they didn't have that. None of the pop culture translates.
Right. Because they don't know.
Yeah. So they're like, we have scotch and cigarettes. And we're like, all right.
I thought they would be like playing with like pitchforks and flamethrowers or whatever they have,
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, they did have scotch and cigarettes because they grew tobacco and they made their own alcohol. I don't know that it was scotch.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I forget that they make alcohol.
Suzanne, I wanted to ask you because you were the
no math.
What's this?
No math.
No
math questions.
Oh,
okay. All right.
Me too.
I'll get rid of the math questions. I wanted to ask you because your material, when you were the first lesbian comic to appear on the TV, and I was wondering, like, how is that adventure when you first started? Because now it seems like it's more acceptable to talk about on stage, and I was wondering when you started, was that like a taboo subject?
Oh, I started in 1990. First time I ever got up to do stand-up at an open mic in New York City. From the moment I started, it was beyond taboo.
Yeah.
It was 1990. I mean, I had comics wouldn't stand near me or talk to me or engage with me because they didn't want anybody to think they were gay. I couldn't, like, only because I made people laugh did I ever get bookings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was so different that it feels now when I talk about it unreal, because now it's almost like you got to be a little gay to be a comic.
Yeah.
And my God, back then, it was horrific. It was such a different thing. I can't, and it feels weird now, like, because that was 30 years ago, and our culture has changed dramatically.
Yeah,
That's
definitely. Right. No, because I have autism, and I would say 90% of my stand-up is talking about having autism. And if I start, like, when I started, it wasn't like a taboo subject, but it was a subject people didn't really understand. You know what I mean?
Right. But do you when did you start? How long have you been doing?
I started 2006.
So I want to know, do you think I don't think they still understand. I'll bet they still have tons of questions, because don't people still say you're not supposed to use the word Asperger's? Is that right? I feel like I read that.
They renamed it to autism of support, but I still use Asperger's. It's just
he was a Nazi or something. The doctor that Asperger was, like a Nazi.
Yeah, he was like a German Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess they felt like he shouldn't get his name to have anything named after him.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel it just sounds like like, because it's really hard. Like, if you tell someone, "Hey, you have autism of support," they're like, "Oh, what's the support of?" And then you have to go. It's like, I'd rather just say Asperger's. You know what I mean?
I hear you. And it's not like we know or care anymore about some guy who might have been a Nazi, in the sense that that's like nobody under 50 is thinking about that,
Yeah.
right? And unless you bring it up, oh, I have Asperger's. I'm not supposed to say Asperger's because that was a guy who was a Nazi. Like, it feels like at that point, what are you going into that for?
That's a great joke.
Right? And feel free. But I would bet, and because I know for myself, I know this. I think autism and Asperger's are the same. I know that there's what they call spectrum.
Yeah. There's six different spectrums.
Yeah, but that's about all that I that's all I know. So I would bet that you're still explaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's six different forms of autism, but it's all connected to one. It's like a spider web. So
Okay.
I agree, it is the same thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but hey, I wanted to ask you. So, like, when you did stand up, did you ever run into to Ellen? Like, did you guys fight about who was the first pioneer?
We did not fight about it.
Oh, so she knew it was you, right?
You know who was really nice to me? Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, Rosie.
Rosie actually came up to me after my HBO special and said, thank you so much for doing that, because there's so many of us who can't be out, and we appreciate what you're doing, which I thought was really, and wasn't that clever how I just went from that other subject and just like acted like nothing happened?
No, this is
I liked it. I liked it.
They haven't heard that. That's great.
For the folks at home who can't see this, but I noticed that you have respect tattooed on your wrist. And I also have a tattoo on my wrist, and I was that's one of those spots that, like, because when I got my tattoo, it hurt. Did it hurt for you when you got it?
I got my first one, which was the little orange star, and you can see I added many stars and I have them on my back and stuff. What happened for me is what happens to some people, is that I got one little tattoo when I turned 40, and I woke up the next morning and went, oh my God, I have to have 1 million of these.
Right.
But I don't know if you can see me, but I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, middle America kind of gal. I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull off a sleeve, so I just got little ones here and there that you can't really notice, because I love getting it. Like, yes, I guess it did hurt.
Yeah, because it's on the wrist, on the
but
vein.
That's not what I remember at all.
Yeah. So when I got mine, it really hurt because I got it like right here on the vein. So I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. So all right. And then
you have?
No, I have two. I have this one was for my grandfather who died, and then I have one it's right here on my arm, but it's for Norm because I toured with him and he was like my comedy dad.
Okay.
And when he died, I got a tattoo to honor him. So
you're not addicted to tattooing, in other words?
No, I just find him sentimental,
Yeah, after I had no idea, none whatsoever, that I would respond the way I did. I love it. And I literally had to just keep myself from getting them because I can't pull it off. I'm not I'm not that kind of chick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have like the ones on my neck and all that other stuff. I know how ridiculous I would look. So instead, I just have little stars like on my ankle, on my back, on my neck, on the back of my neck. I even have a tramp stamp.
What? What what does the tramp stamp say? Like, does it say like?
They're just stars. They're all stars. The
Star.
only one that has stars
Okay.
says respect. And I got that one because a partner I was with cheated on me. And when you're a comic, you just, whatever you're feeling, that's what you talk about on stage.
Yeah.
And I was at the Improv at Ybor City when it was going on. And I was there that whole week and I was bitching about it, she cheated on me, blah, blah, blah. And the guy who was the security for the club after the last show on Sunday night, he said, I want to take you somewhere down the street. Do you care? And I said, no, I'll go. And I thought he was going to give me some special kind of coffee or something that was Ybor City's best stuff. I don't know. And we went into a tattoo parlor and we had this woman, she was all ready to go. And they bought me, they did this for free, respect, because he said he listened to me all week and he couldn't believe that I would ever let anybody cheat on me. And that he did this. He wanted me to look at that every day to remind myself to never let that happen again.
Wow. That's awesome.
Isn't that the coolest story?
That
That is
cool.
the coolest story. It's also one of the most unique stories because
I know.
like comedians are usually the cheaters. You know what I mean?
Well, I was.
Oh.
Oh.
And then what's funny about it, because my partner now, she gives me shit about it all the time because I did always cheat. And then this woman cheated on me and it hurt. And I didn't realize that it sucks to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I learned a lesson, got a free tattoo, and I have never cheated since.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't know. I always cheated because I was like, whatever. Until my girlfriend now, she's actually my wife now. We got married the day after Christmas.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She says I met her and she has integrity, and I didn't have any of that, and I learned it from her.
Right. Well, they say that you learn stuff from people you're with. You know what I mean? Right. I think that's kind of cool.
Like when I met her, she was not political. She was not a feminist. She didn't understand about gay politics and being at the marches. Like nothing. She was just gay.
Right.
Right. And I was like, oh no, And so I taught her all about that, and she taught me integrity.
Yeah. Did you also teach her how to do stand-up?
No, she's actually quite funny, but she's one of those people that's right down the middle of being an introvert, extrovert.
Right. Like
at work, she's like a senior executive vice president of blah, 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 blah. I don't know what she does. But at work, like I get to hear her because her office is out here in our garage now. I hear her on her Zoom, and she's like she's like a comic. I mean, she's got the crowd going, and she's telling a few jokes. She's interspersing some jokes in there when she's doing her work speeches and stuff.
Yeah.
But then if like we go to dinner with some friends or something, she's like one-on-one with one person, quietly talking. She doesn't like attention drawn to herself.
Right. I get that. I get that because like one-on-one, I don't like the attention, but when I'm doing stand-up, I think I like the attention. You know what I mean?
I do. My problem or whatever has been that there is never enough attention on me ever.
Yeah.
want it all the time. I don't care if it's one-on-one. I don't care if it's 1,000 people. I used to do this joke that my partner teases me about because her parents are evangelical Christians, and I used to do a joke about whenever there are more than two or more gathered in my name, it's an audience, and it's so, which is sort of, but because attention is like that's my number one thing
Right.
of it.
Do you like it when people like ask you for a picture and an autograph or something, or is that where the attention stops?
Nope, I love that. In fact, not only do I love it, I very clearly remember when I first started. So this is like in '92. I did a show with Joan Rivers.
The great Joan Rivers, Alan Lee's favorite comic.
One of my favorite comics. Yes.
Was spectacular, a spectacular individual. She was one. I got some really great advice through the years, and she was
Wow.
one of my favorites. And
Wow.
she said to me, signing the autograph, taking the picture, that is your job.
Yeah.
That is your job.
Mhm.
It's not just your job to be up there getting the laughs. If they, you know what I mean, they are paying a lot of money to come or taking their time and getting babysitters, blah, blah, blah. She went through the whole, and she made such a clear point to me. I like it anyway. I love having my picture taken. I love all that. I've always been that way. But when she said that, it really made it made an impression on me, because sometimes you're tired or you're cranky, it's after a show and you just kind of want to get back to the hotel. But I always remember her saying, no, this is your job too.
Right.
You owe the people that.
Yeah. And then, but she then probably said, now when podcasts come out, you don't have to say yes to all of them.
Oh,
I think we lost Alan Lee.
I got to tell you, I met her a bunch of times. I was fortunate enough to do a bunch of different events with her and shows, and she was spectacular.
Yeah. No, I never met her. So, but yeah, I always enjoyed her. My manager wrote for her fashion show, and and I was just like, it's a fashion show because I'm more interested in comedy and stuff, and and he's like, but it's Joan Rivers, you should come.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, that's probably one of the regrets I do have, is not going to a taping on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think you got to remember, comedy is so subjective. There's just because everybody can like one comic, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to like that comic. It's just, how that is. So you may not have enjoyed her when she was doing the fashion stuff, and it might have given you a bad impression. So maybe it's best that you didn't hear that.
Yeah. Like that was my, exactly. That was like my excuse, where it's like, you know what I mean?
But I think you might have really, dodged a bullet on that, because I'm sure you appreciate her comedy now and appreciate who she is, but that might have been one of those things where you'd have gone, and it could have ruined it for you.
Yeah, they also say, like, you should never meet your heroes. You ever hear of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like I have like the weirdest luck, because all the heroes I've met, I've actually become really good friends with. So like,
oh, that's awesome.
So like I have that luck, but then like I've heard horror stories about people who I'm really good friends with, where it's like in my like, like I've never experienced it. I've never seen them treat anyone bad. I'm not saying they did or not, but I'm just saying I've never experienced that. They've always treated everyone around me, what I've seen, great, But like I've heard stories through the vine, and we had that conversation on the cell phone about Saget, where you said he wasn't very nice to you.
At the time, I'm telling you, I try not to judge him, because at that time in 1990 and 1991, when I was doing the clubs in New York and just getting started, I was such an anomaly, and people were like scared of me because I was openly gay. I know that sounds so bizarre now,
Yeah,
because I very clearly remember comics who then went on to get famous doing everything they could to not be near me because they didn't want anybody to know or think they were gay.
right.
And there were a handful that went out of their way to be nice to me because they knew they weren't gay. And like Joy Behar, Susie Essman, Kathy Ladman, Brett Butler, who was basically fired for being a bitch, was so nice to me. Because she thought what I was doing was brave and a good thing for women.
Yeah. And Rosie O'Donnell was nice to you too.
And Rosie O'Donnell was very nice to me. It's
Oh.
it's very yeah, it's very it was such a different time. You know, women, especially women, if they were gay themselves, they didn't want anything to do with me. If they weren't gay themselves, but they were afraid that someone would think they were gay. And the truth is, back in 1994, you wouldn't get work if they thought you were gay.
Right. Yeah.
And
Well, yeah. But I mean, like I said, I just wanted to apologize if you felt Saget was mean to you. So on
he
behalf
was
of him.
I don't remember. I remember him being not wanting to be hanging out with me. But again, like that could very. I mean, I wasn't like the most famous person or anything either. It's not like I was Madonna,
Right, right.
you know. But it could have been because, for all I know, at the time, people, because he was a slick dresser, maybe they were saying he was gay. I don't know. You know what?
Yeah, no, I get it. You know, when Norm died, Saget called me once a week until Saget passed just to see how I was doing.
Oh,
And you know, it was you know, because like we were both very close with him, and like, you know, it was just like I think Norm introduced me to him because I knew Norm was sick and he was gonna pass. And I think he just wanted to say, hey, Saget's gonna take care of you when I'm gone. But I don't think Norm knew Saget was gonna pass. You know what I mean? And that's just where, you know, it was just really tough, you know?
yeah, that's ugly.
Yeah. So I have a joke where like I tell the audience, like, yeah, I used to tour with Norm and then I started opening up for Saget. And then when Saget died, I also opened up for Jay Moore. Jay called me and said, Keith, I don't want to open up for you anymore. I was like, why? He's like, because I like life. I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good joke, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that's how I write jokes. Like I write them out of love. So like, you know, obviously Jay didn't really say that, but I got that sense. You know what I
But
mean?
I have found in the 30 years I've been doing stand up that the hardest things I go through make the best jokes.
Oh, 100%.
Always, always.
Do you ever feel that you get stronger as a comic when like personal deep shit happens to you?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, they because you're forced to get up and make an audience laugh. They don't give a shit that you just been through something bad. And you have to find a way to make them give a shit and laugh about it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
No, definitely. Alan Lee just texted me and he said his phone died, but he wanted me to make sure I ask you about I've Got a Secret.
Oh my
So
God.
so I don't know what he wants me to ask you, but I've got a secret. How was that?
Um, I think it was 2006. The Game Show Network, it was called the Game Show Network, decided to do
A
to
remake, right?
remake of the old 50s, 60s show, I've Got a Secret, with an all gay panel. And I was one of the panelists. We did, oh my God, and we did like 60 episodes, and we were doing great in the ratings. We were having a good time. And then they got a new executive producer in the game show network. And because he didn't start the show, you know, Hollywood, wasn't his show. So he 86'd it. He dumped it. And we had a blast. I got to meet Phyllis Diller.
Oh my God.
I
How is that? Were you like shitting your pants when you met it?
I was like, you're like trying not to cry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't want to be a complete asshole. You're like, oh my God, it's so good. The good thing is the producer of the show, they made us each. I have a set of DVDs of every episode, so I have it, so I can still look through it. You know what I mean? And see, because God, we met so many famous people, and we had such a fun time. And there was the part I remember, because I'm shallow, that was fun, was that they had people doing my hair and doing my makeup and all this. And there was a woman who was doing she wanted to get advertisement for her jewelry from Beverly Hills. So they would put like $200,000 worth of jewelry on me, right? Oh. And I sit there and do it. And I'm telling you, though, the moment they went, cut, these security guards came out of nowhere. I couldn't walk a foot, not a foot, in that jewelry.
Oh my God, that's kind of like how to lose a guy in 10 days. Just give me the necklace.
Right. But it was fun to wear. It was fun to be. But I'll tell you what, I wish they'd do it again. I wish that they'd have kept doing it. We had such a blast. People loved it. We got great ratings. We were getting ratings that were better and equal to, at the time, they were rerunning the Match game, which those were really high ratings for the game show network at the time. And so it was a good show. It had good ratings for its channel and everything like that. It was such a shitty thing that they 86'd it. There was and that was all on Ego. Oh, welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, what do you think it is about comedians in general? Because I feel comedians are either like the best talk show hosts, the ones that did stand up, you know what I mean? Or when they're like on a game show, I feel the comedians are the most interesting people on the panel. And then on the reverse side, I feel comedians are either the best actors or the worst actors. You know what I mean?
Well, I think generally comedians, one of our best talents is we can read the room.
Right.
And being able to read the room makes you a good talk show host, talk show guest, makes you a better actor. If you think about all those things, because you're paying attention, you're listening, you're being observant, you're reading the room. And because that is one of our best skills, I think that one translates into a lot of other entertainment things like that.
Yeah. But like, you know, for example, you want to see like Brad Pitt or somebody on a game show panel. You know what I mean?
I don't know that he would kill it.
Yeah, like he would be like, oh, and then I'd be like if I was hosting this game show, I'd be like, all right, about Troy. Why did you make that movie?
But I think it's because comics are paying attention to everything all the time. We just are. Whether we're looking for the joke or to make it a joke. I mean, how many working comics do you know that are oblivious? It's just not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, I do know a lot of working comics who are delusional. Yeah.
and
But I,
self-centered and egocentric and narcissistic. I know all that, but I mean, yeah, but not, we're never like not paying attention, even if it may be that we're not paying attention to you for some reason. But comics are, we're smart little fuckers.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, definitely. And then I wanted to ask you about your time when you did the Letterman. How was that?
It was very exciting. It was a big deal. He had never had an open gay person on. So it was my little moment in history. And then last minute, he had a guest host.
Oh my God.
And he never had guest hosts.
Right.
And I tried not to take it personally. I tried to hope that he was really sick.
Was this when he had his son or something?
No. The 2008, I think it was. No, I just forgot the name of the guest host. It was a good friend of his who's a comic in a Vegas comic who never. I just forgot his name. I love getting older.
We could guess. Louis Anderson.
No, I knew Louis. No, it wasn't somebody that we know. That's why it wasn't someone known. He was only known in Vegas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
God damn it. But here's how I look at it. I did it. I got laughs. I got applause and laughs without the sign, which was my big thing for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he decided to skip town or whatever he did. The gentleman did have me over and sit at the desk, and I talked for a few minutes. So even though he I think it's possible he pussied out.
Right.
It still was a good experience for me. Now, the sad part of it was at that time, so 2006, 7, 8, right in there. I did that, and you would have thought every gay magazine in the world would have had it like, finally, gay comic on Letterman, you know what I mean? Nothing.
Right.
I don't know what happened there either.
Maybe they just didn't catch it. You know what I mean?
No, we were all paying attention. No, the homos were really paying attention to each other at that time period because.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe they didn't catch that Letterman either purposely missed it or if he was really sick. Like maybe that just threw over.
I mean, they didn't even talk about that I had done it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And it was because I remember my manager at the time and my friends, we were all like, why did this happen? There were a couple things like that happened. And it was like the gay community needed it so badly. And yet but the press of it didn't care. They didn't advertise it. And I still am not sure why. Like I've heard all kinds of stuff. Oh, it's because the press at the time was all gay guys and you were a gay girl and they didn't care. But that seemed I'm not sure I buy that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you gotta look on the positive. Like, regardless if Letterman was there or not, you know,
I'm positive.
You did it. You know,
I did it.
And like that, like I could never, like I've never been, and I've auditioned for Conan and all that stuff, and I've never gotten on the TV, and I don't think I ever will. But you know, I admire everyone who has done it. You know what I mean?
And I here's the way I look at it. Regardless of how it goes down, everything that I did cracked open for the next people. Like the truth is, and I'm just gonna say it, Ellen would not have been able to come out had I not been out before her.
Yeah.
Because, and in fact, there are people who believe that she only came out because she saw me coming up behind her and got a little worried about how that was going to play out for her.
Right.
But I've been doing it so long now, you know what I mean? So I try to look at all of it as like, yeah, I got treated like shit sometimes, and there were some really weird things, but I'm I'm part of the reason now that you can go to Boise, Idaho, and there's gay comedy night.
Right. No, I agree.
You know what I
And
mean?
no, yeah. And between you, me, and all the rifters, the listeners, I call them rifters.
I love it.
Uh, I've always I've never been a Ellen fan, not because of she's gay, but I've always sensed that she's not as nice as she acts. And then when it came out a couple years ago that she was mean, I was like, I kind of knew that. You know what I mean? Like I kind of get that vibe just from watching it on the TV,
Right.
you know? And the one thing about Rosie O'Donnell, who I think what she did, not just for like gay people, but for women, having her own talk show host, I thought that was awesome.
Huge.
Yeah, and I'm not the big like I think I'm not the biggest Rosie O'Donnell fan, but I think like how she did it was great.
But don't you feel the thing I liked always from Rosie is I feel like whether or not you like her, you feel like she's being genuine.
Yeah,
She's being a Long Island girl,
yeah,
right? And
definitely.
that counts to me.
Yeah,
It's not a fake, it's not a put on, it's not I'm one thing and then completely the opposite behind. Like of all people, it's one thing for actors to be like that. We expect them to be completely different than what they are because they're actors. But for comics, like, I don't know, I kind of want them to be genuine.
well, here's how like I've only had a 5-second encounter with Rosie, and it was on Twitter. Uh, but this is what happened, and it says a lot about her character. Like I don't like going into politics, but she hates Trump and Trump hates her, vice versa.
Right.
And she tweeted about her son was missing or her daughter was missing or something, and she asked for retweets, and everyone retweeted it. I retweeted it, and then when Trump got elected, she made a joke about his son, how he might be on the spectrum or something. But she sometimes when you tweet stuff, you tweet it, but it gets read the wrong way. Doesn't necessarily mean you meant it or not.
It's a huge problem with Twitter in general, and I love Twitter, but you don't have the demeanor of the person is missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So back to the story. So she tweeted something. I don't remember the exact
Right.
words of the tweet, but it came off very, very like regardless if Trump's kid is autistic or not, like you could hate Trump, but why hate the kid? You know what I mean? So I quoted it. I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said too. I was like, Rosie, I think it's very hypocritical that you asked for support to find your child. Would you appreciate it if your child was autistic, and something like that?
Right.
And then she sent me a DM and she said, I apologize. I didn't read it like that. I will delete this tweet. And she deleted that tweet. So I thought that was fucking awesome. Like she didn't.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. So like that is what that's you realize, yeah, you made a mistake, and you owned up to it. That was awesome.
And that's how I experience her as well. And I think that because especially on Twitter, it's so I love it, and I'm having trouble getting back on because I hate Elon Musk. But
but he has Asperger's. Come on.
Does he?
Elon.
But I feel like it's so fast. Twitter is super fast, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, you think of the joke or you think of the comeback, and you're like, bup, 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 bup. And it's very easy to say something super offensive. Okay, you're a human being. But if someone then says to you, hey, that was super offensive, your only job then to do is go, oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean that.
Right.
I mean, if you meant to be super offensive, well,
That's
then
one thing. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
But
it.
because anybody can make them, you got to be allowed to make mistakes, but you got to own it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Right.
I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, you know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so it's one of those things where like I think also when I make mistakes when I joke and stuff, I feel people should know I'm joking, but I also feel that people don't necessarily know my sense of humor, so they wouldn't know I'm joking. So I feel that that could be a mistake as well. You know what I mean?
And I've gone ahead and I've apologized to people when I haven't even agreed with them. I've had, and this is very rare, but lesbians are a sensitive crowd.
Right.
And they're pretty sensitive. And I did a joke where, oh my God, this is so long ago, where I was basically saying, you change that cat box a couple times and you start thinking, we don't need that fucking cat. Right. And this woman waited after the show to tell me that she was super offended that I would think about killing my cat.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know that was not anywhere near my intention. I've got cats. I've always had cats. I obviously love cats, you know what I mean? But for me, making my point about that wasn't going to help her. She just needed me to acknowledge it. And I would never kill my cat. I love my cats. You're right. I'm so sorry. And you
Yeah.
know what? That took me 18 seconds and she went off feeling fine.
No, definitely. I've
Why wouldn't you do that?
yeah.
You know?
Well, like for example, for me is like when like I have this bit called jokes at a funeral, and I usually do it when I'm bombing hard, you know. So
Oh,
I say, oh, this is like telling jokes at a funeral, and then I have like 10 experiences, and each experience I say it's a death about someone committing suicide, but they leave a note. So like a guy drowned himself and I was telling jokes at his funeral and he left a note and the note said, "Hey guys, I was thirsty." Something like that. And so but I keep going, you know. Anyways, so this person comes out up to me after a show one time and I guess I did one about a guy who blew his brains out. And she's like, you know, my brother shot and killed himself and I didn't find that funny. And I was like, you know, I'm very sorry, but I don't find him killing himself funny, but I found the joke to be hilarious because I was bombing.
You know, I think when people do that, they just want to be acknowledged. They want their minute in the sun. And
Yeah.
it costs me nothing. I know better. I
Yeah.
know well they weren't triggered or whatever. They're having their moment. Fine.
Right.
Like I'm always fascinated when comics will get up into it with somebody because of a joke. I'm like, what are you doing? What a waste of
it's
time.
not worth it. It's like, you know, I mean, I still do the jokes, you know what I mean? But
They're never going to get it. They didn't want to get it. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe they won't want to have a good time in the first place. Like, you're like, what are you doing? You're just like, that to me, that's an amateur comic. Like, what the fuck? Why are you doing that?
right.
Just go, you're right, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And then promptly go and tell it again when you feel like it. Because that's just the way it is.
Yeah. But see the thing, like, here's the thing where like I feel every joke, and I'm sure you feel this too, like every joke you've said in the past or in the present you find funny, but that doesn't necessarily mean you still find it funny. You know what I mean?
True too. Yeah, I mean the world changed. The things change right now. I have so many jokes about my mom because my mom and I were super close, right? And I mock her, and she used to come to my shows. She loved it, but my mom is now suffering from severe dementia, and it's so bad, and it's the worst. And now those jokes break my heart,
Right.
but that's not anybody's problem, and that doesn't mean those jokes were bad.
Yeah.
That's just not funny anymore. And I don't tell them anymore. And maybe if when she passes, enough time will happen and I will bring them back. Who knows, right? You know what I mean? But right now, that would hurt my heart. You know what I mean? But you just have to, because yeah, I mean, the jokes they don't have time limits per se, but they can, like all the really, really great jokes we did right after 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny anymore. No one, I walked out on stage that first few weeks after 9/11 and said things like, and I good screaming laughter, but that wouldn't even be funny. I would go, say what you want about the Amish. They never get a bunch of horses and ram them into the side of a building. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of like Gilbert, like the day after 9/11, he did that roast, and he just got murdered.
Murdered
But,
for it.
I mean, to be honest, 9/11 was terrible, but I mean,
was.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is some good 9/11 jokes.
And there are. And the other thing is the way comics are conditioned to deal with horrible things is to joke about them, because then when you laugh, it doesn't hurt as hard. Yeah. It's like fucking duh. Isn't it like that goofy? It's like Reader's Digest. Laughter is the best medicine, yo.
Yeah. Suzanne, I have two more questions because I want to respect your time. But I wanted to tell you that the best 9/11 joke was from The Big Sick, where Ray Romano asks him, he's like, so let me ask you something. What do you think about 9/11? And he's like a Muslim guy. And he's like, 9/11? I think we lost 4 of our best men out there.
Oh, yes!
And I thought that was the funniest joke. And I remember I saw that in the theater and it killed. And I was just like, oh, because it's the element of surprise. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is good. And Ray Romano is a wonderful person too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have I never met him, but I wrote jokes for him on the podcast because Norm interviewed him. And I think Norm was like just fucking with me because I was I'd send him on the internet and then I text him and I'd be like, oh, did whoever like it? I remember Norm would be like, Ray didn't like any of your jokes. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, you gotta do better on Spade. I was like,
I think
yeah. So I don't know. He was, but so this question might be a little long, but this other question is actually very short. So Comics Unleashed, when you did it, how leashed were you?
Okay, wait. When was that?
It was with Brian Allen.
It's Brian Allen's show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still get checks for like 32 cents when he shows it in Japan or something. I swear to God. My memory of that was that he was allowing me to be very unleashed, but the audience was not ready for the gay yet.
Right.
Like they were bumming out. They were booing and going, we don't want to hear about your, lesbian. We don't want to hear about that. But he was ready and wanted it. Do you know what I mean? That's
That's cool. Because I've heard exact opposites where like I've heard he's very, hey, I want you to tell this joke and act like it's Unleashed or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's cool that he didn't do that for you. What?
Yeah, that was not my experience. My experience was he saw what I was doing, that it was an activist move too, you know what I mean? And was supportive of it. And I think he was a little bummed that his audience wasn't going to let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And now the easy question is, how is it like being friends with Judy Gold? Like, how cool is that?
I've known Judy since I started. So 30 years. She's a neurotic mess. I can't tell if she should either be 50% of the time she should either be medicated or handcuffed.
Right.
Yeah. I've known Judy so long. I know how really good she is, but she doesn't want people to hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I bet she would go, don't fucking tell them I'm not. I mean, she would rip me a new one.
Yeah. I've always found her she's actually one of my favorite comics, and I interviewed her, and I don't think she got me. So I was like, bummer. But I still like watch her stuff and stuff, you know what I mean?
I met her like meaning within the first days of my very first time ever doing stand-up. It was back when she was doing, do you remember when she had a big pin curl and she would do Judy's show. And Judy and I are actually friends.
Right.
Yeah. As
Cool.
opposed to like, she's not just, you know how there's comics and you know them, maybe you came up around the same time or you performed together, whatever, but they're not necessarily your friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I get that.
Yeah.
Like I worked with Barry Sobel for a while, and he's not my friend at all. Like, I don't really care for him at all.
I feel like I've only been I don't know him as a friend, and it's not been a super pleasant experience. The handful of formed around him.
Yeah, I find him to be very bullyish, and
yes,
that's not what.
And in my brain, I remember it, and I haven't seen him forever. He's like a short guy bully, and I can't take them seriously because, like, you just want to go, you're a bully because you're a short guy. Like, we see that. You probably have a tiny penis too. That's so embarrassing. Why are you being like, that's how girls think?
No, definitely. And like, I gotta be careful with like what I say, because like when I did someone's podcast, and they asked me about my experience with Sobel, and it's it's not something I like to talk about, because he was also on the tour with Norm, so like I didn't want to like butt heads and risk losing that, gig. And Norm was my best friend, so I never told Norm this, but like there were situations where it was just it just wasn't, it was very toxic. And I remember on this podcast I said, Barry Sobel was the type of guy Johnny Carson didn't even want to hear him talk. He just approved him. You know what I mean? So, and that trended, and I was just like, yeah.
But you know what? You can always just change the subject. For the last 10 years, people ask me about Ellen DeGeneres, and I always go, I love Rosie O'Donnell. She was so great for me.
You did it here. I was like, oh. Right. I thought I hit a Sour Pouch, and I was like, oh God, I didn't mean to.
No. If first of all, if you're an openly gay comic, at least especially in the 90s and early aughts, they had to ask you about every other gay person on the planet. You know what I mean? And it was like, I didn't know every other gay person, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just learned when something like that comes up, because you don't want to lose a gig or create an enemy. Just get yourself a little side swipey way to say something that just, and it lets the person know you're not going there. But
Yeah. Well, I learned that from you, and I'm gonna start doing that now. Like when they ask me Sobel questions, I'm gonna be like, "Oh man, I miss Bob Saget."
yes, yes. See, like this. Just immediately, gosh, that makes me miss Bob Saget so much. He was such a great guy, and then just start right in with it.
It's like a total A to Z question. You're like, huh?
Every once in a while, you'll get an interviewer who's brain dead. But I ask you about Barry Sobel.
I'll be like, oh yeah, that guy from the '80s, and
Yeah.
isn't that a bad movie with Tom Hanks? All right, cool, man.
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Now, Suzanne, where can the folks at home follow and support you?
Let's see. Come out and see my live shows. Damn it to hell.
You're gonna do Palm Springs. I retweeted that for you.
Thank you. You can keep up with if you want to find out where I'm going to be, at SuzanneW.com. I'm on Twitter. I was on Instagram, but somebody hijacked my Instagram thing, and so I haven't figured out how to get rid of that. But I think it says it says somebody, it's not like Mark Wahlberg, it's not that person. So
right.
Don't worry. But like, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I do shows out there. Come out, like, get your ass off the couch and come out and see live shows, man.
Yeah. You know what? I this could be my Asperger's too talking, so you might not find this funny. But I thought for sure when I was like, where can the folks at home follow and support you? You're gonna be like, well, I'm on Instagram at Ellen.
Ah, shit! I should have. Can I steal it?
Of course, you can steal it.
Because I feel like that will come up, or I'll figure out a way to, because that's too good.
Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for saying yes. I know, a lot of
you can find me at hashtag Ellen's a dick. Oh, wait, what? Oh, we're all going to hell now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying yes. And I'm sorry Alan's phone died or whatever, but thank you for doing my podcast. It meant a lot to me.
I loved it. This was the most fun podcast I've done in forever. I hope ask me again if you just don't have, like, I can be your, wait, who was that woman you remember for she always did David Letterman's show when somebody wouldn't show up, a blonde actress from Tootsie.
Was she a oh,
Terry Garr lived in New York, and whenever an actor wouldn't show up for David Letterman, he would always call her, and she would always come in. So I'll be your Terry Garr, because I like to. I think we get on. I like your style.
All right. Well, yeah. When Barry Sobel comes on, I'm calling you.
No problem. Hey, I'll do the interview.
You can probably.
We're going to hell, you know that now, but
hey, as long as I'm going to hell with you, and we're hell roommates.
We'll know so many people when we get there. It'll be amazing.
All right, Suzanne. Well, I love you. Have a great day, and thank you for saying yes.
No problem. Have a great day too, honey.
All right.
See you on Twitter.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye, honey. I don't know how to turn these off.
Just that. All right. That was my interview with Suzanne Westenhoefer, guys. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
You're listening to Reza Rifts with Keith Reza and Alan Lee right here on LA Talk Radio.